swear us in.
All right, well, good evening. Welcome to District 5 Advisory Board meeting. I'm Councilmember Brian Fry. For those of you that's your first time here, I do not run the meeting. I allow J.B. Johnston, who is our pro tem, to run the meeting. District 5 Advisory helps me in the decisions that I have to make as a council person, so their input, their questions, their feedback is invaluable, so that's why I let them run the meeting. It is their meeting. So I know we have a very full agenda tonight. Also, we are broadcasting on Facebook Live, so we'll ask all of our speakers to use the podium tonight. We haven't always done that, and that's allow you to be on camera. So where's Gary? You're wearing good tie tonight, thank you. So again, welcome, and we'll try to get you out here quick so that the weather doesn't get in the way of things. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to JB.
Thank you, Brian. First thing, call meeting order, approval of the agenda for May 6th, 2019. Motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of minutes for April 1st, 2019. Any additions, corrections?
Second.
Okay, hearing no changes. A motion to approve the second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Karen, will you swear us in?
I will.
We sign it?
Pardon?
You sign it?
Let's get sworn in first, then you can
Okay.
sign it.
Don't jump the gun. Just Brian said we're in a hurry, so.
You all stand, please, and raise your right hand. And repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Robert Rodriguez,
Solemnly swear that I will support
solemnly swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
of the District 5 Advisory Board
of the District 5 Advisory Board
for the City of Wichita, Kansas, so help me God.
for the City of Wichita, Kansas, so help me God.
And I'll come around and collect the oath when you sign it, and the certificate and release it. You can smell it.
Oh, so you see.
Karen, you had one arrive late, so take out so I on the podium.
Two of them.
Take them at the podium, we can do it on Facebook Live.
Okay, moving on. Are there any off-agenda items from anyone in the agenda item?
Yeah, I President, board is at Mesquite Pit, in back of Roadhouse parking lot.
Okay, should we go up here?
Yeah.
Go up here, and if you don't mind, state your name and address, and what you'd like to.
My name is Bob Troy, my address is 1019 West Stony Court, and I'm here representing the Petco Homeowners Association tonight. We have two issues actually we'd like to have brought before the board. One of them being speeders up and down Crestline and Sterling, and it's getting worse and worse by every time it warms up, it's getting worse and worse. It's going on all weekend. The other is there's a runoff pond that's back northeast corner of the parking lot of Logan's Roadhouse. It was put in there to catch all the runoff, rain runoff from all that paved area. It's stagnant water, and every time it warms up, it's just mosquito breeding ground. So, we'd like to talk about mosquitoes and speeders.
Crestline as it goes through Chatsworth, right?
Yeah.
And then, fortunately, you have like several public works guys here tonight. So one of them can maybe get with you and get sipping on the
Yeah, what
water.
we kind of like to do is maybe run right over there once in a while.
But we can get, and
I'll
also,
pass it on to Mr. Vaughn.
Next.
okay, so we got you taken care of. At least something to start on.
Yeah, yeah, thank you.
How's that for city government working for you?
Yeah.
Got high hopes, though. Thank you. Anyone else?
Unswear him
Go ahead, Steve. Thank you.
My name is Bree Pringle, and I'm here on behalf of the American Heart Association, and I'd like to address with you guys tobacco-free parks in Wichita. I'll let Del Rona speak a little bit more to take a couple minutes, but I'm coming to you as not only someone who works for the American Heart Association and obviously believes in heart health and things like that, but I'm also coming as a mother who spent 2 weekends in a row at our beautiful city parks, only to be met each time with others who were smoking directly on the park property in the playground. E-cigarettes, tobacco products. So as I take my kids out to get fresh air, to make sure they're getting vitamin D, sunshine, getting exercise, all the things that are great for them, and I want to do it in our beautiful, amazing parks that we have, that's what they're exposed to. So I'd love to bring up that tobacco-free parks and trails would be a policy, and it would be consistent with our athletic facilities and our school grounds. If we're gonna protect our kids and our community there, we should think about all the places that we're asking our individuals to get out there and get moving and get healthy, because all it's gonna do is create a healthier, more inviting Wichita. And I'll let Dal say her piece.
Good evening, I'm Del Rona Harrison. I'm representing the American Heart Association. I am a registered nurse. And if you haven't had the nurse day, it is Nurses Day. We all know that heart disease is the #1 killer in America. Women, if you add up all the top 5 reasons of death, those numbers equate to more than how many die that are without heart disease. When we talk about heart disease, we're talking about heart attacks, we're talking about chest pain, we're also talking about respiratory problems, COPD, emphysema. By exposing children and adults and teens to secondhand smoke, it's now been determined it's just as bad as primary smoking. And now they're talking about tertiary smoking. So what we would love to see happen is that our parks are a space where families can converge, they can have fun, enjoy the park without having to worry or be bothered by somebody else who's smoking. And I would also add that pipe smoking, cigar smoking. We would love to see this pass, this ordinance. And if you have any questions, you can contact your Heart Association affiliate here in Wichita or
Kansas Academy of Family Physicians.
Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anyone else? Okay. Next, Brian, would you like to give us some update?
Yeah, I think a lot of the stuff I want to talk about is going to be covered in staff reports. David's here to talk about our Croc wetland ribbon cutting this weekend, coming up on Saturday, so that's very exciting. Tomorrow we start our first look with the retreat on the budget for 2020 and the capital improvement plan. And this is a series of retreats that we'll do over the next several weeks. If you remember, then it comes back to the DAB, and you guys get to see that, and then we eventually end up approving a balanced budget in fall. So this is all the work going into it. So that's pretty exciting stuff. I know it sounds crazy budgeting, but that's where you get to really shape some policy and create a better city. So looking forward to that starting. So that's all I really have, unless anyone has any questions for me.
Any questions for Brian? Okay, let's move right to the staff reports, and we'll start with the fire department. Since we're in your house.
Hello, I'm Captain Rollman. I am stationed here at Station 21. Just moved here last month. Got 29 years on the Wichita Fire Department, and the majority of that has been at the core areas of the city. So I was at busy stations my whole career, and I'm looking at these reports and I'm thinking, wow, these numbers are really low. So I commend you guys on your overall commitment to safety that this community must have. Because last month we only made 212 alarms in this district, and one of them was the fire at 777 North Silver Springs. Did have a substantial $550,000 fire loss there, and they estimated that, or they concluded that the cause of the fire was smoking on the balcony. So kind of ties in with the smoking theme. Be safe with your cigarettes. If you do feel like you need to smoke, make sure that you keep smoke in appropriate areas, and make sure you keep your neighbor's safety in mind when you're extinguishing those items. Other than that, we've made 171 medical alarms, which is kind of on par for looks like the statistics for this area. Like I said, commend you guys on your commitment to safety, and right now we usually like to give a few safety tips with the changing weather. Obviously, the storms we're going to have tonight, do not drive in running water ever. Make sure that if you are driving across a road, you can see the road. If you can't see the road, find an alternate route, because there's no guarantee that you're going to have a road that's been washed out. And with the sunshine that we have more kids out. Make sure that you be vigilant when you're driving. There's more kids out there, there's more kids sharing the road with us, so that's the last thing we want to have happen, is an accident involving anybody. So just be mindful, there's more people out there, and let's all look after each other's safety. Have any questions?
Welcome to District 5.
Well, I think
Well,
I'm going to enjoy it. I'm looking forward to serving this community and getting to know you guys, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, thank you. Next, we'll have police report, Officer Dowdy.
Hey, I'm Officer Robin Dowdy. I'm the community policing officer for 199 East, which is just a little bit to the south of here. A couple of things that we've been working on. I know you guys talked about the Wetlands Park grand opening. The community policing team also did a grand opening at Pawnee Prairie Park, opening the new bike path this last Saturday. So that was cool. Good to see some more bike paths on the west side. And it sounds like we may be a part of the wetlands as well. Also, River Festival is starting the 31st of May through the 8th of June. So just be aware. We try to keep traffic flowing as best as we can, but there will be a lot of streets closed along the river area. So only last week, be patient. Also, tomorrow and Wednesday, we are doing kind of an abandoned vehicle initiative, getting inoperable or basically stationary vehicles off city streets because they're either a nuisance or an eyesore. We're reminding people they can only leave the vehicle on a city street for 48 hours and it has to move after that. So we will be out stickering a lot of cars the next couple of days and possibly towing those cars 48 hours from the sticker. I personally have been working on sort of a crime trend around the St. Elizabeth Antecedent Church area, which is Central and 119th. Not necessarily at the school, but the neighborhoods to the east and west. We've had 6 car break-ins on the 2nd and the 3rd of this month. So it seems to be probably the same same group. We're looking for a darker Volvo SUV or Mazda SUV. So they don't have a good tag on it or anything, but 2 white males breaking into cars. So other than that, that's all the police department has, unless you guys have any questions. I will pass your speeding complaint on to Officer Hahn. She's the community policing officer for that area.
Thank you. Next is Parks and Recreation, Dave McGuire.
So good evening, everyone. And yes, we were talking about the Croc Wetlands ribbon cutting ceremony that we have scheduled for Saturday morning at 9:30. So hopefully you'll all come out and be a part of that. Brian and I were just over there checking a few things out, and we probably, just in a short time, saw 10 or 12 different species of ducks. Some baby ducks, the mama ducks nesting over there, 4 or 5 species of shorebirds, and so with the piers that we have, you can get out there in the wetlands a little ways and sit behind these blinds that you can look through and stuff and observe nature without them really knowing that you're there. So it's going to be pretty cool. So we're going to, Councilmember Fry is going to officiate our ribbon cutting Saturday, and our parking lot that we're planning on using is a big muddy mess right now, and so we might do some parking out on the street. So if you come over and you're looking for a place to park, we're going to try to do some parallel parking in the right lane there of 29th Street. So hopefully you can, if you decide to come, we got the parking all figured out. It's going to be a nice morning and everything. So we're excited about getting that park opened up and being used, and hopefully some other improvements will come down the pike that we can finish the boardwalk all the way out into the middle of the wetlands, because it is pretty fun to sit there and watch the birds and so forth. We also, over at the Orchard Recreation Center, which is in this district, we've got the Miracle League on our Miracle League field over there. I think we've got 10 teams signed up, which is a program for children with disabilities. To play baseball is really fun to go over and watch them play ball and stuff. So that'll be kicking off here probably next week, I think. Is when the games will start. They're done on Saturday mornings. Our Open Streets event that we had up on 21st Street this last weekend was well attended. We probably had 10,000 people. I think the last time I was here, we were talking about we need to figure out a street over here on the northwest side of town to do that kind of event, because that's where I live. Yeah. So it'd be cool to have an open street event out here. And we'll talk to Mr. Houghton about that. So right now we're also taking registration for our summer camp that'll be coming up. SOD is called Summer of Discovery. So with any of our recreation centers, you can sign up for SOD. We're hiring lifeguards. If you know of a kid that's 16 years and older that has some background in lifeguarding, we're looking for lifeguards. I'm looking for staff to man our athletic fields. We need some staff to help us prepare our ball diamonds for the league play and tournament play and stuff. So if you know anybody looking for a job, send them down to the Park and Recreation. We can probably get them going. There's 3 events coming up here. Take your kid to the park. It's coming up May 18th. That'll be down at Watson Park. We have a party at the net. If you're a tennis player and enjoy playing tennis and want to get involved down at the Riverside Tennis Center, there's going to be a party for that May 18th. We've got a magic show planned for Reflection Square Park on May 25th. And I saw the library already got their summer book out. Our book was supposed to be here today, and I was going to bring it with me, and they never got it done. So I will bring that next month at the meeting that has a bunch of cool activities set up. So that's about it for the Park and Recreation. Any questions or?
The day when does the pools and splash pads open?
The splash pads all opened up here May 4th, so they're up and running. The pools are scheduled for the Saturday, I think Labor Day falls on Monday this year. Memorial Day, excuse me, yeah, Memorial Day. They open up the next Saturday. So it'll be pretty quick, about 25 days from now, we'll be opening up the pool, so. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Now we have Tracy, Wichita Public Library.
Hi, my name is Tracy Partridge. I'm the manager of the Westlake Branch Library. I am going to tell you about all things library that are happening this month and also leading into next month. One of the main things that I want to talk about is our summer reading incentive programs, which are actually for kids birth all the way up to age 17. If you have a child who is birth through age 2, we have a program called Baby Performs. Registration starts for that on May 28th. And basically what you do is you complete 15 early literacy activities with your child. And then they get a book for their library at home and then some other prizes. We also have a Kids Read program, which is for ages 3 all the way through 5th grade, and a Teens Read program, which is for those entering grades 6 through 12. With those two programs, what you do is you 20 minutes a day for a 10-day period, and then you get a prize, and then you keep doing that. And typically the 30-day prize is a book to add to your library at home, and again, there are assorted prizes. But May 28th is the first day that you can sign up. You can sign up all the way through July 19th, and we're really excited about it. And right now, we're promoting it in all of the schools across Wichita. Another thing I wanted to mention, does anybody have a teenager at home? You want to get out of the house in a safe activity. If you do, we have actually a teen volunteer program. 4 of our libraries are still accepting teen volunteer applications. With that, individuals entering grades 8 through 12 in the fall, they commit to 1 to 3 2-hour shifts a week is what they do. And they run our summer reading incentive programs for kids. So they register kids for the programs, they issue prizes, they shelf for us, they do all sorts of fabulous things. So we still are accepting applications, and that program and their availability needs to be May 28th through July 26th. They need to be able to make a 6-week commit. Now, we do have some individuals on our board who have young children. If any of you do have young children, our story times, which are actually for babies all the way to age 5, they start the week of June 3rd. And then the final things that I want to mention are some things that we're doing in May. May is actually a quieter time at the library because we are getting ready for the summer, which is very, very busy. And some of the things that I wanted to mention that we are doing that I think seem very interesting. On May 8th at 1:30 at our Advanced Learning Library, we're doing a program called Senior Wednesday Kansas Honor Flights. We're going to have a gentleman named Larry Reeves who will talk about that program, which gives senior veterans the opportunity to see National War Memorials free of charge. And that again is on May 8th at 1:30 at the Advanced Learning Library. If you're like me, you might need to figure out a way to make your money go as far as it possibly can. And we have a program called Saving Money on Everyday Costs, and that's May 23rd at 6:30 at our Alfred Branch Library. We are very lucky to have consumer credit counseling within that program. They do a lot of activities at the library for us, and we're looking forward to that one. And registration is required for it. June 1st will be a big day at Wichita Public Library locations because we have 2 programs that I wanted to mention. One is actually at one at the Advanced Learning Library. It's called For Your Amusement. It's the Wonderland Park on Acrobat Island. That's by filmmaker Sarah Harmon. She's going to show her short documentary and then answer questions about it. And so after you go to that at 1 o'clock, then you can race over to my library, the Westlake Branch Library, while you are obeying all UNSP laws. And attend World War II A Family Remembers. That is at 2:30 at the Westlake Branch Library. Basically what's going to happen with that program is Nancy March Price, who's the author of Uncle Sam's Most Reluctant GI, is going to talk about her father's experience in World War II. He actually served during World War II, and he survived the D-Day invasion, and she has collected all of his letters and published them, and she's going to talk about like his experiences throughout World War II. And then the final thing that I want to mention is a very Harry Potter evening. Many people like Harry Potter. And on June 4th at 6:30 at the Westlake Branch Library, if you are 8 and older, and most of you look 8 and older, you could attend our Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone party, where you can wear your Hogwarts regalia and participate in all sorts of Harry Potter activities. It's going to be absolutely fabulous. Anybody have any questions? Well, then I hope to see you.
Is there an age limit on the Harry Potter dress up?
You know, you look like someone who I think would really enjoy the Harry Potter character, and we would support you in that. So as long as you're 8 and older, you can participate. You're so welcome. And all of the board members actually have a guide at your library that Trey passed out, and then also a book page. I do have some extra if there's anybody who would like to know what is happening at the library. I will put them on the table so you don't feel pressure to take one and they can do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Extras. Okay, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Okay, next, Public Works, Gary.
Good evening, Gary Jansen, City Engineer. I'll try to be brief, and you've got a lot left on your agenda. So I've got a normal list of projects I'll go through quickly, and then I want to focus on the 2019 outsourced pavement preservation work that everybody got a copy of. I'll talk about a few other projects first. We've talked for some time about construction of sidewalk on Ridge Road from 29th Street to about 33rd on the east side. That will be starting up in June. We're finally ready to go on that. The Hoover Bike Path, even though it's not actually in District 5, we've talked about numerous times from Zoo Boulevard to 29. City Council's approved that design concept. We're moving forward with design. We need to do some work within the new capital improvement program to fully fund that project. We're hoping that happens and be able to get started by the end of the year. We've talked about 13th Street right down the road here from the Cowskin Creek to 135th, including the 135th intersection. Plans are about done. We're about ready to go. We are hung up on one easement that we have not been able to get the property owner to work with us just yet. Still trying to do that. We're going to have to figure something out. That easement does two things. One is to help reduce the number of times water goes over 13th Street. We can't stop that, but we can help reduce that. The other is part of the permit we need for this project as we are filling in the floodplain. We have to make up for that somewhere. I have to take some dirt back out. That's part of the purpose that that easement serves also to balance those things, or we can't get the final permit to move forward with the project. So we're going to keep pushing on that, keep our fingers crossed that we can still start construction yet this summer or fall, but those are a little bit iffy if not knowing how quick those will go. So we need to get that project done. There's still some safety issues out there. The pavement's getting worse. So we'll keep you posted as we get closer on that one. 29th and Mays intersection, I've talked about in the past. That's on your agenda tonight, so I won't mention that. And you can hear all about that shortly. Last couple times I was here, we talked about the concerns with traffic cutting through the neighborhood of Central and 235 on the southwest corner where the Quick Trip is. We have installed new signage. We also put some delineators on Boyd where there have been parking. We're going to let those set in place here for a couple months, go back out and count traffic and see if we can see a measurable difference on it's a little bit of a challenge because it was hard to tell before if traffic was truly cutting through or not. But we'll look and see. I think the signs we have put up are an improvement. It's probably our best bet to make an impact there if it truly is a problem. Coming back to every year within our capital improvement program, we have approximately $10 million for pavement preservation. We've got a 40-year model that looks at all 5,100 lane miles across the city all at the same time. Evaluates different pavement treatments, evaluates existing condition, age of the roadway, and put that all together and decides where our next priority should be, where we can get the biggest return on our investment. We do try to spread that out amongst all 6 districts. We're not trying to fully balance it, but because we've got needs in all 6 districts, it makes sense to balance that as we go through, and I think we've done a pretty good job with that. You can find all this information online, but I wanted to talk about we've got a few things wrapping up on the 2018 program. In particular, 13th Street from Mays to 119th, we're still going to be putting a surface treatment on that yet in June. And we've got a few residential streets to finish up. Actually, they're in progress right now. 2019 program, I gave you a map just for District 5 only. You can see on that legend, there's a variety of different work. First one happens to be concrete repair, which we don't have any in District 5 in 2019. You can see quite a bit of the black, which is crack sealing. Crack sealing in residential neighborhoods in particular helps prolong the life of the pavement. Nobody likes the way it looks, but it's one of the most cost-effective things we can do to keep the moisture out of the cracks, to prevent freeze thaw, those types of things that really will do damage to the pavement over time. It'll get us to a point quicker, needing to do a lot more invasive work. We've still got a fair amount of micro-surfacing, which we've done before in residential neighborhoods. One of the two of the things we're really focusing on across the city this year is what we did out here on 21st Street from Mays to Ridge Road, what we call an ultra-thin overlay. We're doing that more, it costs more, quite a bit more per square yard. We get a lot more life out of it, so we're trying to get to some of the more heavily traveled roads in all districts to do effectively the same as we did here, and go ahead and patch first, and then put a more durable surface on that. Within District 5, you can see Tyler Road from Maple to 2nd, and Mays Road, or Central from Mays Road to a half mile west are the two planned to do the same thing. Most likely the patching work will get done in 2019 and the surfacing will get done next spring. It's kind of the way those projects did and the contractor's availability. But one other thing that we're doing, and I mentioned 21st, and I want to bring it up again because people tend to question the method to what we're doing and whether we really know what we're doing. And I can tell you we're getting ready to do some more work on 21st, and they're going to question it again. We're piloting this year in some areas where we just went in and did some pavement treatment. And we're going to go in and put a preservative seal on them. So 21st Street from Mays to Ridge Road, you'll see is a green line or orange line all the way through there. We have not done this before. We've done it mostly on brand new streets, but we're going to go in and put a preservative seal on what we just did. It's very inexpensive in the grand scheme of things. It goes down quick. We think it can help extend the life of what was just done even longer for relatively low cost. If we could go out and build all the streets in the city brand new overnight, the first thing we would do after that is start to preserve that pavement and not wait. We can't back up in time, unfortunately, so we're trying to stay on top of these things we're making repairs on and make them last even longer. You'll see some of that orange even in some of the residential neighborhoods where we just went in and did a new surfacing, and we're going to put this preservative seal on top of it. Last year on 29th Street from Ridge Road to the east, we did this. If anybody lives out that way, you saw a bunch of sand on the pavement at one time. That's what we did with the preservative seal. You really can't tell that anything's been done. But for us, it basically seals over the top of that, and it's going to help prolong the life of the pavement. So the list I gave you, this is available online, but it's a specific list to District 5. The map's a little bit hard to read. You can go through here and find the streets. You can find the type of work. You'll see micro-surfacing, preservative seal I talked about, ultra-thin bonded overlay. This last sheet I gave you is a snapshot of if you go to the city's website, there is actually an interactive map for the 2019 program. You can plug in any address across the city. It will go to that address and tell you if there's any work planned for 2019. In talking to Councilmember Fry, we're hoping at some point in time to back up a little bit and be able to bring all of this together for the last few years, and for people to be easily or see what we have done as we've progressed through the districts, through the neighborhoods. Because it gets a little bit confusing sometimes knowing where we've been, what we've done. People don't quite understand it. This is all based on that 40-year model, and it's been really accurate for us. It's been reliable, and it's something we plan to keep using. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Gary? Nope.
Thank you.
Gary, thank you. I have a motion to receive and file all the staff reports. A motion and second to receive and file. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. New business. Wichita, Places for People, Mary Hunt.
Then turn the lights off right up front. PowerPoint will be a little easier.
Not her camera though, is it?
Pardon me?
You're on TV.
Well,
Probably not. Council members, Fry, members of the board. I'm Mary Hunt. I'm with the planning department. And Wichita Places for People is a comprehensive plan amendment back in 2015 and 16. After a 3-year process, the city adopted the comprehensive plan. And one of the things that it said, or the action step it said to do, was to develop an urban infill program. And so I just want to let you know that a comprehensive plan, including this amendment or any amendment that comes forward, is very, very different than most of the things you review here, whether it's Gary and his staff or Philip, who's going to be coming up here later, where they're talking about something, a very specific place, a very specific kind of project, and you can really wrap your head around it because you live out here. But a comprehensive plan is a long-range policy document that helps guide elected officials in their decision-making about how to go forward. And it's intended to cover about a 20-year time span. So it really is, it's a policy document, it's not an actual law like a zoning code would be. So try to keep that in mind while we talk about that. While there are some zoning recommendations that I'm going to get to in this presentation, they are only suggestions. By having the council and our board of county commissioners adopt this, they're not actually adopting those zoning recommendations. They're just saying, thank you, we'll look at that, we'll see if that pertains to us. So with that. Okay. The whole purpose of this plan was to put people first rather than automobiles, connect neighborhoods to commercial centers, having transportation options for everyone, and having active centers, that means physical centers. We want to do this because we need to take better care of what we have, and I'll show you where we're talking about in a second. But it's taking care of what we already have, revitalize the community, take advantage of all that existing infrastructure, and address some of the regulatory barriers that make it very difficult to take care of the core of the city, which is developed very differently than what you have right out here. Our zoning code right now is addressed to build what we have out here and maintain what we have out here. Okay. So here's a map of Wichita. That's the kind of beige gold part. The gray are all the suburbs that surround us. But that red line, that's the study area for Places for People. And it touches, well actually it comes into District 5. Out here on the west, far west is Ridge Road, the far east is Rock Road. It goes as far as 29th Street on the north and the 30th Street on the south. And some people, and I've had comments like this, it's like, well, that really doesn't apply to us. Well, it's not like we're going to develop this, these ideas I'm about to present here, or not. But if that center core can function better, have more value, that simply relieves the tax burden on everybody else because we're all in this together. And that yellow area in the middle, that's the part that was developed prior to 1940. So here's just some quick facts about this, what they call the established central area. It's about a 3-mile diameter from downtown, 62 square miles, 38% of the city. It has just slightly more than half of our residents, and with that you have half of our households. It has 2/3 of all our jobs. And it has 3.4 billion in retail sales, which is less than half because we have a lot of things, a lot of retail that has kind of pushed to the edges because that's where the households are. So you might expect that.
So this is the pattern of development that we're looking at in the established central area. And it basically is this little node in the middle, which is your intense development, or as intense as it gets in Wichita. But that's where all that hubbub of activity would take place, typically at an intersection. And then you have the transition zone that kind of spreads out from there, and it's kind of a combination. It might be some multifamily housing, it might still be some offices, and then it blends out into the neighborhoods. And the idea is that you can walk from those neighborhoods to that node area, which will have lots of services, local services that people need. So we have three sizes of these places. We have the neighborhood size. 13th and West would be an example of that. We have Community Core, a good example of that is Delano. And then we have the Regional Center, which is the largest, which would be at Central and Hillside, or our wall out here on the south. So anyway, we have these three areas, no transition edge. It's just a matter of scale, or we can be small, medium, or large. Now this is zooming in. That purple line is just like the red line before. And you can see how these nodes have, these are just suggested locations. The smallest one, the gold one, those are the neighborhood hubs. The next one up, it's like a hexagon. Those are the medium size. And then you can see that green one. And there's just a scattering of those. They tend to be near the hospitals, university, big destinations like that. So I'm going to show you one of them, because they really do look a lot alike. It's just a matter of scale. So we're going to go to medium place. It's called Community Core. An example of those are Harry and Oliver, Delano, Seneca and Pawnee, 21st and Avenue. Very common, but there are many, many more. They tend to be located at a couple of 1 to 2 intersections, 6 to 12 blocks. You'll have anywhere from 80 to 250,000 square feet of commercial space. A small grocery store is about 80. The newer stores now are going up to 100, 120,000 square feet. So if there's a grocery store, it'll at least go past that 250. And it has a 4 to 6 mile trade area and needs about 50,000 people to support it. So here's just a rendering of Harry and Oliver. And let's see. This is Platte Golf Course, with their kind of idea how that could have been redeveloped. I know you guys have probably had a folks from Wichita State out here talking up here about the ideas they have for that, but this was all done earlier than that. But basically what you have kind of right around here, that's that central node area. That's where the most activity is. Lots of commercial activity there. And then as you go out, it gets a little less dense, and then it just blends out into the neighborhood. And here's just a rendering of what that intersection could look like. It includes, this has these little blue icons on it because it's got pedestrians, it's got bus traffic, it's got street amenities, it's got the bicyclists, it even has a little bit of kind of plaza green space for people to gather. And then here's just a street view of what that can look like, where you've got some nice buffering between where the people are walking and the people are driving. And so it's just a pleasant place to be. And then here is a description on Harry and Oliver, where we've got the, again, intense development here, a transition area out from there, and then it blends into the neighborhood. And the idea is to have these all over the city. So there are components that it takes to build each of these things. They're basically streets and sidewalks, they're open space and buildings, okay? So here is kind of a cross-section of what a sidewalk zone looks like. You've got your buildings, and the buildings come closer up to the street. This is where you're gonna have parking, parking's in back. Maybe it's on the side, but it's primarily in the back. And that there's this relationship between the pedestrian zone and the building. You've got your frontage zone here, right? And that's all about the welcome mat to the building. And then your pedestrian zone and your amenity zone. That'll have maybe park benches, nice street lights. You saw the rendering before that had people sitting down and taking a rest from their shopping and such, and then it goes out to the street. And so here are our streets and sidewalks. We've got some examples here. This one on the left is called Mixed Use Main Street. Delano is the typical street like that. We got the Mixed Use Connector, which is really connecting other mixed use main streets. So it's got 4 lanes of traffic. It's going to be busier, but they've also incorporated some green space here on the side with the pedestrian area and a little buffer area here, so people aren't walking right up to the street. A couple others. Here's a residential connector, trying to connect neighborhoods connecting other areas to the residential areas. Again, this one only has 3 lanes. We've got 2 drive lanes and then a turn lane right there. And then the residential neighborhood street, which would be the lowest volume street, it's got the slowest traffic. And then we have our Plaza Street, which is very typical of what we have in Old Town, and then the Active Alley, which is these spaces between buildings that sometimes just start collecting stuff. But it can actually be a useful area for people to use. And then these are just some examples of other cities, what they're doing. They've got this little wayfinding example that's just tucked off the side of the sidewalk, and the landscaping that happens to be in Tulsa. And then this other one has an elevated crosswalk. It's one way of alerting drivers if something's happening up here, ahead of them, they can slow down. Again, bike parking, street furniture, and then patio dining. It's a nice landscape area between your cars and the sidewalk. And then this one on the right, they separated the bike lane from the sidewalk. Then we move on to open space. There's different types of open space. You got your natural preserve. Nothing is in there except vegetation. You have your linear park, which we have right here on the Arkansas River. Got a community park. Community park will serve several neighborhoods. A neighborhood park will serve probably about 1. And then we've got the square. And then we've got the plaza courtyard. Plaza courtyard might not be all green, but it's still kind of a green space for people to just to rest and have a nice space between buildings and such. And then we go through the buildings. We've got buildings for residential, we've got buildings for commercial, and they all become higher and higher density. We've got this detached house over here on the left. We have a lot of that here. And the newer stuff is more like the one on the left. The detached house over here on the right is more like something built sometimes in the 50s and 60s. Here we got a little more compact house. We have a duplex. The accessory dwelling unit. In our code, we call it the accessory apartment. It can be attached to a house. It might not be attached to a house. It might be in the backyard. It might be the upstairs of a garage. Then we have a multi-unit house here. Could have 2 units, might have 3. That one has 2 on the bottom. And then we have row houses. Small apartment walk-up, mid-rise, high-rise, okay, and then, of course, an apartment complex. Okay, then we go into the commercial. There aren't quite as much variety in commercial, but we have this live work unit. You could have an office downstairs and somebody living upstairs, or you could have retail downstairs, office upstairs, any kind of mix of uses in there. And again, you'll see they're all pulled up to the sidewalk, or pretty close to the sidewalk. We have a small scale commercial over there. On this left, we have a small scale mixed use, medium scale mixed use. We try to get as many local photos in here as we can. And then we have this pad site drive-through. And what they've done here is that the building is what you notice first, not the parking. And then we have the large scale mixed use, which we have less of here, but we still have some of it. And then we have our large industrial, and then a parking garage. And the point of having this parking garage idea here is that right now, you open a business, depending upon what you do, you have to provide so much parking, and it needs to be on your site. A parking garage alleviates that. They do this in Old Town so that they can compact all those businesses and they all share the garage. And then you have your frontage, like I said before, this is the welcome mat to any building. So we've got the suburban yard, which is perched back a little bit. We've got the neighborhood yard where they've taken the The garage is in the back, we've seen a lot of that, built like in the 20s and 30s, even the 40s. And then the house is up front. And on the right, we have this build to street, which can be residential or commercial, it's really townhomes. Then we have the courtyard, where your eye goes down that center courtyard with the building's blanket. Again, this next one, which is the terrace, which has some landscaping out front. And then this last one is called setback buffer, where we actually have parking on the sides, not just the back. Okay. So the next couple of sections, again, I really reiterate this, they are only suggestions. They will not be adopted if this gets through planning commission and the council and such. They are just a place for us to start discussions. And so we'll take you through a little bit of that. A suggestion they've made is eliminating the density cap and using those building type standards that I just showed you. Putting appropriate limits on the building scale and really designing everything for a person to be interacting with that building and not just automobiles. Another idea is that they enable some greater density throughout the districts by having accessory dwelling units. If people want them, again, we'd have to go in and really dig down and figure out what our rules are going to be about that. But when I say by right now they have to come in and get a conditional use permit. They go through a public hearing process. It's rather involved and rather expensive for people. And I think, well, if we could just write the rules on what we want to achieve, and they do that, off to the building permit they go. And then application by building type. And on commercial, changing those required setbacks, having multiple scale projects instead of just massive projects, again, keeping the human scale. And then where we can, moving that parking to the back and the sides of buildings rather than out front. Again, it really does depend. Are you in the very center of that nodal development, or are you kind of on the edge? If you're on the edge, it's a little more flexible. If you're in the center, you've got to make good use of that real estate. So one of the things they're also suggesting is that you've got to look at how you want to do this. So we have this, I have a statement that it will work. We might have walkable development standards strictly as an option, meaning we keep our current zoning code, just like we're used to using, but we would have another one. It'd be parallel to one another. And people would have a choice which one to go with that works for them. Or we might pick specific areas where we want this kind of development to take place. Or we might design some specific context that we want to use. We don't know where it is, but we know what we want to achieve. And then, of course, we can still use our planned unit development, community unit plan as a regulating plan if we want to have that in place now. And then some parking reductions. And then as far as investment goes, we have these things in place right now. A lot of this is managed out of our economic development office, but we have tax improvement financing, community improvement districts, business improvement districts, special assessments, tax reductions, tax credits, low interest loans, the opportunity zones is going out, as well as grants. So all of those things are in the toolbox to help us achieve some redevelopment in that core. Another idea is to establish a land bank. I think a lot of people outside of Wichita would say, well, it's kind of unusual you guys don't have a land bank because we're so big. But we haven't had one yet. And what it does is it can go in and purchase some of the properties that are just abandoned. Nobody wants them. Nobody's buying them. Even the person that owns it wants nothing to do with it. We don't know where they are. If we do know where they are, they're out of state, they want nothing to do with it. It's abandoned, it's a mess, and it's a hazard. And so what a land bank does, is you go in, assuming everyone's been given a chance to buy it, and they can buy it or take possession of it, and they can clean up the title. Oftentimes, because they can't find the owner, you can't sell it to somebody because there's no seller. And the stuff just sits there, and then people start moving away from those things. And they could be tax foreclosed property, we get a lot of that. And then this group could come up with a plan to reuse or rehab property. The city has to approve an ordinance, though, to establish it. and then you'd have an independent body of people who would run that via councils and accounts. So that's another idea that's come up. So with that, I'm happy to take your questions. I hope we can get your endorsement on this plan tonight. And I've got the website if you want to read the entire plan. It's pretty big, but anyway, with that, anyone?
Any questions from anybody on the board?
So Mayor, I would say that this has been a very intensive process. It's a very big challenge when you look at the size of the established central core area and all of that investment that the city has made. And then we're not using it to its fullest potential because of some of the way we have it, because of our zoning code and our requirements now, which is different than out here in the suburbs. And so trying to create some opportunities to get that land redeveloped and viable and on the tax rolls again, that's what this is about, to help us get that investment back and getting people back in that core area. A lot of this distressed property or vacant spots or just, nothing happening. This is a way, a plan to help us get there, to make it easier for investors and groups to take and develop a piece of property. Whereas out in the suburb, it's like clear open land, it's easy to work with, right? And it's not as challenging in some of these pockets. So having this plan really frees that up and should make it easier. So looking forward to hopefully seeing some of this in place.
Any questions from anybody in the audience? Okay.
Again, just recommend that you feel the plan is a good one as presented. Again, nothing in here is enforceable yet. It's just that the plan should be considered for further consideration and to proceed to the next steps.
Do we have a motion to, go ahead.
I'll make a motion.
To endorse the plan as presented?
As presented.
That's what he said?
That's what he said.
Okay, is there a second? Second, motion is second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, 29th Street and Mays intersection improvements. James Wagner.
All right. My name is James Wagner. I'm with the Public Works Engineering Group. I'm the capital improvement engineer for the city, and I'm going to make a couple extra introductions here. John Melius is here. He's the chief design engineer, and Gary Jansen, who spoke earlier, our city engineer, and then two of our people. One, Lockman & Company is who's hired to help with this project, and Tim Azer's here, and Luke Peter was here earlier, but I don't see him any longer. So I'm here to present on 29th Street North and Mays intersection. We're looking at doing some improvements there to help clean up some of the traffic. Good. All right, project location is really focused right there at the intersection of 29th and Mays. The map here doesn't show, there's a few developments around there, but it doesn't expand too far outside of the intersection itself. So a little bit of background, January 22nd, 2019, the City Council approved Baughman to develop design concepts for 29th and Mays. Baughman has completed their traffic analysis and formulated recommendations for us to improve the congestion that starts to happen up there during our peak hours, and they've modeled this to not only improve now, but quite a ways into the future. They identified two movements, which is the left turn lane on 29th Street turning south towards New Market Square, and then also the northbound Maze Road right turn lane. So these would be to help, these improvements would help to improve the efficiency and safety of the intersection. So some of the existing conditions you have out here is bar ditch, and what we're trying to show here is that kind of tough to tell, but some of the blinkers are on some of these vehicles along here. What happens here on this northbound Maze Road is that the right lane starts to queue up more than the other lane, and people turning right get stuck with people traveling forward. And as they slow down to turn right, the people that are wanting to go forward are having to slow down too, and it really reduces the efficiency of people traveling straight through that intersection. Show you here just a little bit. Here's a rendering from our traffic model. The yellow cars are the ones that are turning right, and in between them are the ones moving forward. So each time you have someone turning right, the person that wants to move forward slows down, and that really starts to reduce your traffic efficiency of getting through that intersection. Next, we're looking here at 29th Street North, which is the westbound left turn lane. You can see right here, it has only enough space for 5-6 vehicles to get into the turn lane. And what you have happen is either one of two situations where people in the turn lane start backing up into the through lane, or the through lane starts backing up where people can't get into the turn lane, which is kind of shown here. See how the through lane starts to back up, and then this person wanting to turn left can't get into the turn lane. That's essential to get people over into that turn lane and be able to use that turn when they can. Otherwise, it does start to restrict how many people you can get through that intersection in a certain amount of time and make that left turn flow very well. So those are the issues that were deemed as the most critical for this intersection. The remainder of the intersection runs fairly smoothly. There are a couple other existing conditions that we noticed when we did some observations out there. That one, maximum of 6 vehicles can be stored in that turn lane on 29th Street, but there's maximum of 10 vehicles stored in that left turn that goes to north into Sam's. Sam's does have other entrances, and from what we noticed in the field by our visual observations, that nearly all the vehicles from the eastbound area all turn left at the left green arrow and enter off of Maze Road, so that turn into Sam's is being highly underutilized for what space it's been given. So when Baldwin looked at this project, what they did was they wanted to consider the complete reconstruction, including dual left turn lanes and new signals and everything, and partial improvements where we can maximize our dollars spent and extend the design that we have at the current intersection and be able to improve the traffic situation that's out there right now. They did a complete traffic analysis with trip generations on known and projected developments in the area. And I have a development map here, which is a little bit tough to see, but you have commercial in this color, in the office setting right here, so there. Residential is yellow, including all of the ones that are already existing. And then apartments in the light orange here, right there, and then one church development. So you can kind of see there's a little bit of area in here that still might develop, but we don't have any future understanding or knowledge of what's going to happen there. They're unplatted currently. So what we did the best we could with all the information that we could gather for the general area. So the findings that they got from the traffic analysis showed that the 2 primary movements that we spoke about, which is the left turn lane on 29th Street and then the northbound Maze right turn, are the most critical to make improvements to improve our efficiency at the intersection and improve safety. Currently, we can extend the intersection's design by doing some minimal improvements which if we look, if anybody saw in the back, are shown back here, and thereby adding a right turn lane, independent right turn lane that stretches down to the first driveway to the south, and then also extending our left turn lane back to where it has capacity to really, I think, double the amount of vehicles that it can currently hold. We also looked at the roadway condition, and the road is in decent enough shape, and with some minor repairs like a mill and overlay or something, that could be a road that gets refreshed really well. There were some recent thermal crack repairs on the road, so some of the maintenance has already been done out there.